Hey guys, welcome back to the poker vlog. This is episode number 14. It's the second episode from my trip to Sacramento with my buddy Kevin Colenso. Last episode, him and I played the $1,100 $250K guarantee at Thunder Valley. And for this episode, we head back. I busted that tournament, but Kevin made day 2, so we see how he finishes. I play some cash games, and in this episode, I actually only document half of my day. The other half I'm going to put in a separate episode that I have really special plans for. I'm not going to say what those plans are exactly, but if it works out, it's going to be awesome. So I hope you guys like this one. At the end, Kevin and I go bar hopping, so stay tuned for that because that's pretty cool too. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Second full day that we're here. Kevin over here made day 2. We're just getting ready. Kevin, you got anything to say?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Once we get to the poker room, Kevin starts day 2 of the $1,100 tournament with $154K in chips. It's level 15, blinds are at 1,500, 3,000 with a 500 ante. There are only 66 players left. The top 45 make the money, and first place is 75 grand. Meanwhile, I grab a seat in the 1-3 game while I wait for 2-5, and I look down at pocket aces. It folds to me on the button. I raise to 11. The small blind calls, and the big blind also calls. We go 3 ways to the flop. The flop comes Queen 7-4 with 2 clubs. The small blind leads out for 10. The big blind folds. With an overpair and a backdoor flush draw, I raise it up to 25. The small blind calls and we go heads up to the turn. The turn is the 3 of clubs, so the flush draw and a straight draw get there, but it's still a decent card for me. I have the ace of clubs, so I'm drawing to the nuts, and I have a blocker that reduces a lot of potential flush draw combinations that he might have. The opponent checks, I bet 60, and he folds. So we take it down, and we're off to a good start on the day. Also, right after this, we get some great news about Kevin's poker tournament. They just announced that all the players in the tournament are in the money, so Kevin just made it. There's 45 people left. He's got about 130K left. The average stack is 157. So he's got a little bit of work to do to final table this, but hopefully he'll get there.
You're playing like it's fucking, they don't care about $2,000. He's got the money in like, that's pretty fast.
Yeah, it's sweet.
The first hour. Hey, we're in the money. Very excited.
A little later on, they call my name for the 2-5. I had 600 in my stack, so I'm in for 900 total on the day. A few orbits in, the under the gun player straddles. Under the gun +1 raises it up to 25. I look down an ace-queen offsuit in middle position. Sometimes I'll 3-bet with this hand, but without knowing too much about any of the other players, and since the raise was from an early position player, I just call. The player to my left comes along, and the small blind and straddler also call. 5 of us see a flop, and it comes ace-8-7 with 2 hearts. It checks to us. We've got top pair, good kicker, but with so many people in the hand, it's hard to be that confident. Still, we're not going to give anyone a free card. I bet 65, and I get snap called by the player to my left, and then the small blind snap jams for 195 more. It folds back to me, and ordinarily I would fold when I get check raised in a spot like this. I only have 1 pair. I'm likely up against either a big draw, which I might be a slight favorite to, or I'm up against 2 pair or a set, and I'm absolutely crushed. But since the small blind has such a short stack, and the player who called my bet is somewhat short as well, I decide to raise it enough to cover the player to my left if he decides he wants to play. He ends up turning his hand face up, which was 6-5 offsuit, and then he goes deep into the tank. He has about 375 remaining in his stack, and he only has a straight draw. He's roughly getting around 2.5 to 1 pot odds, and he needs about 3 to 1 if all of his straight outs are live, but since he's up against 2 opponents, it's likely that at least one of us is going to have a flush draw, meaning it's a bad idea for him to call unless he's getting closer to 4 to 1 pot odds. Ultimately, he decides to gamble and he makes the call. The small blind turns over his hand. He has 10-7 of hearts, so he has a pair and a flush draw. I've got the best hand right now, but I'm not a favorite to win. I have to fade about half the cards in the deck, and unfortunately, I can't do it. The turn is a king of hearts, and the river is the jack of diamonds. The main pot is $910, and that went to the small blind, but I did win the side pot. It was $360, but still ended up losing about 100 on the hand overall. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the winning percentages. Had I gone heads up with the small blind, we basically would have been flipping, but once the player behind me goes all in, I lose a big chunk of my equity, while the small blind's equity only slightly decreases. With these being the particular hands at play, the player with the straight draw needed 4-1 to break even on a call, and obviously wasn't getting nearly that. Let's also keep in mind that these players are calling 25 preflop with 6-5 offsuit from middle position and 10-7 suited from the small blind with relatively short stacks. These are fairly large errors, but from my perspective, it's tough to win in these games when players are calling with such wide ranges preflop. You never really know which cards you have to fade or what you're going to be up against. And the strategy I recommend in these types of games is to tighten up preflop, raise a little larger than normal when entering a pot. Definitely don't bluff, especially in multi-way pots, and go for maximum value when you actually do make a hand. Unfortunately, I'm not always able to follow my own advice. In this hand, I pick up 10-9 suited in the small blind, and it looks pretty good. To be 100% honest, I'm a little tilted from losing that last hand with ace-queen, but here, 3 players limp in this pot, the button raised to 25, I call, and in general, I'd say this is a mistake. While there are plenty of deep stacks at the table and implied odds are good, I don't recommend getting involved with drawing hands like suited connectors out of position. These hands are fine to play in position, but when you call from the small blind, you're going to be acting first on every street, which puts you at a huge informational disadvantage. A lot of the value from these types of hands comes from being able to bluff and semi-bluff, which I already said was a bad idea to do in these types of games since people are calling with all sorts of garbage, and it's even worse when you're first to act. So you really just have to smash the flop and hope to cooler someone. That's definitely not easy to do, but I call anyway. 3 limpers call, and we go 5 ways to the flop. The flop comes queen 9 deuce with 2 spades, and now I'm actually starting to feel pretty good about that call pre-flop. I check with the intention of check raising, but unfortunately all the players behind me check as well. The turn is the jack of hearts. I've now picked up an open-ended straight draw to go along with my pair and flush draw. I bet 50. This is a pretty small bet. Looking back, I like a larger bet better since I don't necessarily want to get called, and if I do, I'll create a larger pot for myself if I do hit the hand. I end up getting called by 2 of the limpers and the initial pre-flop raiser. We go 4 ways to the river. The river is the 8 of diamonds, giving us a straight. It's highly unlikely anyone flat called the turn bet with king 10, since there are so many draws out there, they almost definitely would have raised. So we essentially have the nuts. Definitely not going to slow play this. I bet 175. I get called by 1 of the pre-flop limpers in middle position, then by another in the cutoff. The pre-flop raiser on the button folds. I turn over my hand. I'm hoping that I'm only chopping with 1 of them, but it turns out I'm chopping with both opponents. The other players have ace-10 offsuit and 10-4 of hearts. So once I see what I'm up against, I'm a little bit disappointed to be chopping. I was a 90% favorite to win once the flop came out, then over 80% to win outright on the turn, but I should have folded pre-flop and I should have bet bigger on the turn, so I ought to be just happy that I didn't lose any money on this hand. I'm in the game, I'm playing 2-5. Things haven't really gone my way so far with that ace-queen hand and the 10-9 of spades hand, but things can change pretty quickly. I'm gonna go check in with Kevin now. It's level 18 in the tournament. Things are starting to get exciting. Blinds are 3 and 6K with 1K antes. Kevin has 240K in chips, and there are only 34 players left. I head over to his table, and I catch him in the action. He opens from middle position to 13K. The small and big blind both call. The flop comes out ace-ace-queen with 2 spades. Both players check to Kevin. He c-bets for 16K, which is about 1/3 pot. The small blind calls and the big blind folds. The turn is the 8 of spades and both players check. The river comes out, it's the 10 of spades, there's now 4 spades on the board. The small blind checks, Kevin bets 53K, that's about 2/3 of his opponent's stack. I'm just a spectator at this point. I don't know whether I'm rooting for a call or a fold from the small blind, but he ends up throwing ace-9 offsuit into the muck, so he flop trips, he rivered the 9 high flush, but it turns out it was a good fold. Kevin told me later that he had king-10 offsuit with the king of spades for the king high flush. Kevin wins a decent sized pot, and he's looking good to make a deep run in this tournament. On level 19, I get a text that things aren't going too well. I head over to the table to see Kevin's stack is taking a big hit, and he's all in with ace-jack offsuit versus ace-8 suited. He's in good shape at about a 2-to-1 favorite to win. The flop comes out, it's all low cards. It's now looking even better for him, but the turn is an 8 and the river is no help. Kevin busts in 20th place for 3,200. It's always nice to cash. Losing when you get it in good and you're close to big money can be pretty brutal though. As Doug Polk says, sometimes in a tournament, it's just your time to die. With Kevin out, I decided to pick up from my cash game since it had gotten quite a bit worse and we were both really hungry. I was in for 1,100, so I booked a small loss. Kevin and I headed over to the buffet, then I came back to play for several more hours, but I'll show you guys that in a future episode that I have extremely special plans for. Kevin went back to the hotel to rest up for day 1A of the 3,500 WPT main event that was the next day. He started that tournament with 30K in chips and made it to day 2 with a slightly larger stack of 40K. I took that day off from poker, but Kevin and I went out pretty hard that night in Sacramento since Kevin didn't have to play day 2 of the main event until 2 days later. We didn't really have any expectations for the night, but it started off great with some amazing food.
It's maybe like top 5 burgers I've ever had. Like top 5 burgers of all time.
The plan was to check out several different places in Old Town Sacramento, but once we got to O'Malley's, we just couldn't leave.
Kevin and I, we were gonna go to a few different bars, but we're having too much fun here.
O'Malley's, motherfucker! O'Malley's in Sacktown.
O'Malley's in Old Town Sacramento. Here it is.
It never ends.
Never ends.
These are the best people ever.
We had a few beers, our buddy Scotty bought us a shot, and then we stayed there until it closed. It was by far the most fun night we had on the whole trip.
This is it. It's the end of the night for us.
And we had fun. We met some great people. Hot dog in the stick.
All right, this guy,
Celtics.
Stop it, Brad! Brad, one more closing note. Brad and Kevin were awesome and we had so much fun tonight.
He's gonna put this on the video.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we met a lot of cool locals. We had a shit ton of fun.
Yeah, you in on us?
We had a lot of fun.
You were entertaining us as well.
Hi,
We saw you
Paris,
dancing.
that's my name.
Paris.
We're gonna close this place out with the locals because they let us. I feel like we can't leave.
We've been absorbed into the local community.
I don't want to leave.
No, this has been a lot of
If
fun.
I win this tournament, me and Brett are staying.
We've got 3 more minutes, but if Kevin wins the WPT, then we've got a couple more years here.
Yeah, at least.
And we'll get a place on the street.
I mean, as long as your girlfriend will allow
We'll figure something out.
That's it for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. If you have any questions or comments, let me know in the comment section. There's a lot more to come from this trip. Kevin made day 2 of the WPT $3,500 main event. So next episode we'll be covering how he finished in that, and I'll be playing more cash games. I've got a lot of footage of sessions I've played over the last 2 weeks that are really entertaining. I plan on putting them out every 4 or 5 days, which is a lot more frequently than I had been putting them out, so be on the lookout for those as well. And the last thing I want to say is just to say thanks to everybody who's been watching these from the beginning. The first vlog that I put out was the first video that I'd ever worked on in my entire life, and I was pretty embarrassed about it. I think after like 2 hours I wanted to take it down because it had around 7 views or something like that, but I'm glad I didn't. This has been a great experience, met a lot of cool people, and learned a lot of really interesting stuff. So thanks again for watching. I will catch you guys next time, and good luck at the tables.